All right, everybody. Today we are talking about integrated math, practice number 14. This is quadratic translations, part 2. In part 1, we discussed how there were two forms of the quadratic equation, vertex form, which looks like this with a parentheses, and then there is standard form, where there is no parentheses, but we can see A, B, and C. So we learned how to go from this type to this type. Today we are going to do that in reverse. We are going to be getting standard form equations and turning them into vertex form. So I have a list of instructions here that you can read as many times as you need to, but for the sake of this video, I'm just going to jump right into the first example. This is a quadratic equation written in standard form. You can clearly identify A, B, and C. A is the number in front of x squared, which is 2. B is the number in front of x, which is 4. C is the number without an x, which is 3. And if you're going to convert from standard form to vertex form, you need to know these three things: A, H, and K. Because the generic version of vertex form is y equals A parentheses x minus h squared plus k. So if we can identify these three numbers, we can plug them in here, here, and here, and we will be done with this problem. So to start with, we already know what A is. A is the number that's in front of x squared. So A is equal to 2 in this situation, because 2 is the number in front of x squared. But the H and the K require a little bit of math. The H is going to require us to use this formula here, negative B divided by 2A. We're going to plug in for the B at the top and for the A at the bottom. So notice there's a negative sign that's part of the formula. That's not negotiable. I'll put a number in for B, and then the 2 is part of the formula here, multiplying A. I'm going to put a number in for A. And where do I get B and where do I get A? Again, from the standard form of the equation. The number at the top has to be B. B in this case is 4. The number at the bottom plugged in has to be the A value. The A value we just discussed is 2. And now I just want to get this down to one number. At the top, negative times positive is negative 4, and at the bottom, 2 times 2 is positive 4. Negative 4 divided by positive 4 is negative 1. That is the H value. So now we know 2 of the 3 numbers we need to plug into our vertex form. K, the last number, is going to require us to take this answer we just came up with and plug it in for x in the original equation. So 2x squared plus 4x plus 3, we're going to replace x with negative 1. So 2x squared plus 4x plus 3, right? I'm going to replace each one of those two x's with the number we just found, which was negative 1. Okay? You can do all this slowly if you wanted to, or you can just type it all into your calculator as well. Let's see if I can get this on here. 2 parentheses negative 1 squared plus 4 times negative 1 plus 3. This ends up giving me the number positive 1. And that is my K value. Now that I know those three, I can just plug straight into the generic version of vertex form. I will get y equals, I replace A with 2. X minus, I replace h with negative 1, so this is x minus negative 1 in the parentheses. Parentheses is to the power of 2, plus k. K is the number 1. Now this is totally a right answer. I would accept this on a test, but there is something you could do to the inside of this parentheses that would clean it up a little. And that is, if you know the rule about minus a negative, go ahead and apply that rule here. Minus a negative means the same thing as positive. So the cleanest way to write this would be to say 2 times x plus 1 squared plus 1, since minus a negative is the same thing as plus. Right? And that's really the idea. Let's go ahead and flip to the back. I have a couple of examples up here I could show you as well. But I'm going to go ahead and jump right into the homework section and just kind of do number 1. We have 2x squared minus 12x plus 10. The 2 would be our A value. Negative 12, notice that minus sign would be our B value, and positive 10 would be our C value. And for vertex form, which looks like this, I need to know A, H, and K. Well, I already know A. A is the number that's in front of x squared, so A is going to be 2. But H and K are going to require a little bit of math. The first number I need to find out, H, is solved by this formula. Negative b over 2a. In this case, my b value is a negative 12, so I'm going to plug that in there. And my a value is a positive 2. Negative times a negative makes that 12 at the top positive, and at the bottom, 2 times 2 makes 4. 12 divided by 4 is the number 3. There's my 8. All right? 3. Now I take that number I just found and I plug it in for x in the original equation. So now it's going to say 2 parentheses squared minus 12 parentheses plus 10. Notice that it's this exact same equation. I just, instead of putting x's, put parentheses. And now I'm going to plug in the number 3 that I just found. And now I need to figure out what all this makes. Again, you can go slowly through it, doing it a piece at a time, order of operations, but I'm just going to type it all in the way I see it. I got 2 times 3 squared minus 12 times 3 plus 10. All that ends up making negative 8. Okay? That is my k, negative 8. So I have my a, which is 2, my h, which is 3, and my k, which is negative 8. I'm going to go back to the generic version and plug all that in. Y equals, instead of a, I'm putting in 2. Okay. Parentheses, x minus. For h, I'm putting in 3. Close it, squared. Plus k, since k is a negative 8, I could write plus negative 8, or I could just say minus 8. It's the same thing. So, let's do the next one. What if you don't see a number in front of x squared? Right, I see a number in front of x, and I see the c value without x, but I need a, b, and c to be able to work with quadratics. If I don't see a number in front, I have to remember that that's understood to be a positive 1x squared. So my a value is 1. My h value, I need this formula. Negative b over 2a. What's going in for b in this case? In this case, b is the number 8. What's going in for a? A is the number 1. Negative times positive makes negative 8 at the top. 2 times 1 is 2. Negative 8 divided by 2, negative 4. There's my h. Now take my value I just found and plug it back in for x in the original equation. So negative 4, I'm going to plug in here and here. I'm going to find out what all that makes. I have negative 4 to the second power plus 8 times negative 4 minus 15. Right? This. And that ends up giving me the number negative 31. Like so. So I have my a, which is 1. I have my h, which is negative 4. And I have my k, which is negative 31. So here I've got y equals a parentheses x minus h squared plus k, which is the generic version of vertex form. And now I'm going to plug in my numbers. Y equals a is 1. X minus h is negative 4. K is a negative 31 plus negative 31. Now it's okay to leave it like this, but again, I can clean this up a lot. You don't have to write coefficients of 1 in front of the parentheses. Back-to-back negatives mean positive. And you don't have to write plus a negative at the end. You can just write minus. So now I have taken that standard form equation and turned it into vertex form. All right. I hope this is helpful. If you need help with any of the others, feel free to bring those questions in class, and I will see you guys next time.